The royal men and women living in Windsor Castle often find themselves the subject of public discussion during their tea and meal times. Yet, in the eye of this turbulent maelstrom, there are indeed some who manage to live sincerely and even avoid the storm and stress, leading a tranquil life. For example, the late Queen's younger son, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, and his wife, Sophie. In recent years, with the Queen's passing, Harry and Meghan's departure, and Kate's illness, this large family has been in turmoil, almost falling apart. Fortunately, there are still two reliable members keeping it together. One is the highly popular Princess Anne, and the other is the Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie. Similar to the recent Paris Olympics, King Charles did not attend, and neither did his sons William and Kate, who spent the summer together. The only thing they did was post a supportive video online, and Prince William was criticised for his scruffy beard. In contrast, the British royal family sent two outstanding women, Princess Anne and the Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie. Princess Anne, known for her diligent and uncomplaining work ethic, began actively performing her duties at the opening ceremony in July. For the following half-month, she spent most of her time at the Olympic venues, awarding medals to the athletes. Sophie, as a key member of the Royal Duties team, also personally flew to Paris to cheer for the athletes and even took over from Anne as the head of the 2024 Paris Olympic delegation. The British team won the gold medal in the women's team sprint final, and Sophie, who was there cheering them on, was so excited that she was moved to tears. That day, she wore a purple floral dress paired with white wedge heels. Doesn't she look far from someone who's almost 60 years old? Before marrying into the British royal family, this royal member was already a diligent and hardworking professional. She was born into a middle-class family, with some distant connections to the British royal family. Sophie is a descendant of King Henry IV of England. Her father was a sales director at a tire company, and her mother was a secretary. Sophie received an elite education from a young age. While going through old photos, we discovered that Sophie was undoubtedly a true beauty in her youth. After graduating from university, her career journey was quite varied. She first worked as a press officer at Capital Radio, a popular radio station in London under a state-owned enterprise. It was during this time that she met Prince Edward through work, though at the time, Edward was dating Sophie's friend, and nothing further developed between them. Later, Sophie went to Switzerland to work as a concierge at a winter sports resort, where she even had a romantic relationship with an Australian ski instructor, and she followed him to Australia. Just when you might start thinking she was all about romance, she broke up with him. She decisively returned to London and resumed her career, working diligently in several well-known public relations firms, embracing her role as a career-driven woman. Sophie and Edward's love story can be summed up in one phrase: a romantic reunion after life's twists and turns. In 1993, they crossed paths again during a charity fundraising photo shoot. This time, both were finally single and available, and possibly due to the mutual affection they already had for each other, they began dating after this reunion. Their first date was at Buckingham Palace, where they played tennis and had dinner together. All I can say is, how incredibly romantic. However, Sophie's dedication to her career was truly strong. Dating the prince didn't stop her from working hard. In 1996, with years of accumulated experience, she teamed up with business partner Murray Harkin to co-found a public relations company, RJH Public Relations. It's impressive how she balanced both love and career seamlessly. With the experiences of his brothers Charles and Andrew, who both had failed marriages after arranged introductions, Edward and Sophie approached love and marriage with greater caution. During the early stages of their relationship, they faced significant pressure from the public to marry. Edward was particularly exhausted by the repeated marriage proposals and, in a moment of frustration, told a journalist, "If you shut up, mind your own business, and let me propose when I'm ready, the chances of a proposal would be much higher." They dated for 6 years before considering taking the next step in their lives together. At the end of 1998, while vacationing in the Bahamas, Edward planned a somewhat cliched yet sincere surprise. He got down on one knee and pulled out a 2-carat oval diamond ring to propose to Sophie. The ring was from Gerard and Company, which is also the first official royal jeweller in British history and has long designed and customized jewelry for the royal family. The ring featured 2 heart-shaped gemstones on either side, valued at approximately £105,000. A month later, they officially announced their engagement. Sophie responded, "I believe we share many common interests, we often laugh heartily, and we have a deep friendship." The major step of marriage was settled, and as for her career, Sophie made it clear that she would continue her professional life after getting married. Edward, with his sense of humor, joked during the engagement photo shoot, "Are you wearing sunglasses? If the sun shines directly, you'll be dazzled." On June 19, 1999, they were married at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, the same venue where their nephew Prince Harry and Meghan held their wedding in 2018. Compared to his brother Charles's grand royal wedding, Edward and Sophie's ceremony was much more modest and understated, with fewer elaborate rituals or military elements. The 560 guests in attendance were mainly close friends and family. However, the wedding was televised at the time, and 200 million viewers watched the live broadcast, a remarkable number even by today's standards. Sophie reached a pinnacle moment in her life, wearing an organza wedding gown by Samantha Shaw, adorned with 325,000 crystals and pearls. On her head, she wore the Anthemian tiara, a fan-shaped headpiece borrowed from Queen Elizabeth II's private collection. Since the death of Princess Diana in 1997, the royal family's image has plummeted in the public eye. Sophie's confident and charming presence helped restore some of that image. As she had promised, Sophie actively pursued her career after marriage, and her company even thrived, reaching 30 stable high-profile clients by 2001, with a market value of £3.5 million. However, it was in that same year that her PR career abruptly ended due to a scandal. At that time, a journalist posed as an Arab sheikh and pretended to want to collaborate with Sophie, managing to extract numerous sensitive royal secrets from her during their conversation. The dialogue was eventually made public. In the recorded conversation, Sophie discussed several people, including her mother-in-law, Queen Elizabeth II, referring to her as the old lady. She also commented on then Prime Minister Tony Blair and his wife Sherry and made remarks about Charles and Camilla, calling them the most unpopular people and suggesting they might only marry after the old lady had passed away. Additionally, Sophie hinted that although her company's reputation and royal connections were not formal employment relationships, there were unspoken benefits, suggesting an abuse of royal status to attract clients and solicit business. This scandal forced Sophie to step down from her career and resign from all positions within the company. Later, Sophie used her expertise in public relations to express her sincerity and apologies to the Queen and Prince Philip. Far from holding a grudge, the Queen not only forgave Sophie but also continued to warmly embrace her as a daughter-in-law. After that, Sophie dedicated half of her energy to producing heirs for the royal family. Their daughter Louise was born in 2003 and their son James in 2007. During Louise's birth, an emergency C-section was required due to placental abruption. The Queen personally visited the hospital, a rare gesture for her, indicating how much she cared about her daughter-in-law. Louise's premature birth deepened the relationship between the Queen and Sophie. An insider summed it up with one sentence: "She is a very calm, kind, and relaxed person, and the Queen greatly admires these qualities." From then on, Sophie became one of the Queen's most trusted close friends within the royal family. She is the Queen's favorite. You'll notice that whenever there are family holidays or gatherings, Sophie and Edward often stay longer than the others. Edward's father, Prince Philip, was known for his temper. He was not very friendly towards his other daughters-in-law, but Sophie was an exception because she was able to appreciate his British sense of humor. After Prince Philip's death, the Queen referred to the reliable Sophie and Kate as her strength and support. Sophie would drive the 10 miles from her home at Bagshot Park to Windsor Castle every few days and most weekends. On the days she didn't visit, she would call the Queen at least once a day to check in. Her emotional support was both timely and appropriate. When the Queen passed away in September 2022, Sophie was also among the most grieving, frequently photographed wiping away her tears alone. During the royal family's mourning period, Sophie became the glue that held everyone together, providing a sense of strength and support to all. Speaking of Sophie's skill in social nuances, we must mention her relationship with Kate. Although they are aunt and niece, with a 17-year age gap, their relationship is very strong and genuine, not just superficial. They often laugh and carry out official duties together. This close best friend bond was established as soon as Kate joined the royal family in 2011. Sophie, who also comes from a middle-class background, became Kate's predecessor and mentor in the royal family. As we can see, these two are now the public faces of the British royal family, and they don't compete in terms of fashion. Instead, they often exchange advice with each other. Sophie not only buys clothes for herself but also gifts beautiful outfits to Kate, which is something close friends do. Earlier this year, when Kate was ill, her good friend Sophie frequently called to offer her support. They live not far from each other, so they can meet anytime. Under the pressures of royal life, they have found a common bond and support each other. In terms of the number of royal engagements attended, Edward and Sophie would be in the top 3. As Charles's younger brother and the Queen's youngest son, Prince Edward is currently 14th in the line of succession, making it highly unlikely that he will ever become king. Nonetheless, he and Sophie continue to cheerfully complete each royal duty and diligently fulfill their responsibilities. Sophie is also a patron of over 70 charities and organizations. She has moved away from her previous professional achievements to find her place within the royal family's responsibilities. In recent years, with the British royal family facing turmoil, Sophie and Edward have continued to be diligent and modest worker bees, serving as a model of stability and a cornerstone of the royal family in these turbulent times.